Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Denim Privé. Today we'll be speaking with Arsal. I'm so excited for our audience to listen about the ins and outs about Denim Privé. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about how you got started in denim.
Of course. Hi, my name is Arsal Kassim. I am the creative director and founder of Denim Privé and Custom Denim. I basically, in 2008, when I finished my undergrad, I came back to Pakistan for the summer, and it was just supposed to be a summer internship for a few months. And then I really got involved in the family business. It was an amazing opportunity, and I basically never looked back. 2023 now, and I'm still here doing the same thing.
Amazing. So tell us a bit about how Kassim and Denim Privé interact.
So essentially, we are finally now a completely vertical setup. Custom Denim essentially looks after producing some cotton. We do some ginning, we produce yarn, and we make fabric. And that has been essentially our core business from 2001 to 2017. At that point in time, we did look for some strategic partners where we could team up with and produce sustainable garments, but we weren't really able to find anybody who was on board with the same values that we had. So we started Denim Privé for that purpose. And now we are a completely vertical setup. The difference lies in a bit in the kind of strategy that we have. Custom Denim is a much bigger company. It caters to a lot more clientele. It's more of a core business, and Denim Privé is much smaller. It's a niche market, so we can play around a lot more in Denim Privé and do exactly what we want to do and how we want to do it.
Amazing. So you kind of created a playground for a lot of the goals and sustainability that you weren't seeing. How exciting.
Right. So it started out of necessity, essentially, since we couldn't really figure out a partner. And then we've been growing since then. But we plan to stay much smaller than Custom Denim so that we can continue with that flexibility.
Okay, that's good to know. And what benefits have you seen to being vertically integrated?
So now we have complete control over the entire production process, right? Before this, we were able to produce sustainable fabrics, but they didn't really end up being sustainable by the time they reached the end consumer. We didn't have control over that final part, which is very essential. A very sustainable fabric can end up as a very unsustainable garment if you don't have control over the entire process. Okay. So that gave us control over that. We were also able to ship goods much faster to our clients since we control everything from start to end. Mm-hmm. So I feel it gave us a lot more control and a lot more flexibility, and we could really live up to our values.
Yeah, amazing. And then when you're choosing like designers or brands to work with, what key things do you look for?
So I think one of the most important things is if our values and our principles line up. If the brands are looking for exactly what we are looking for, then it's always a go for us. And since we are much smaller, we can pick and choose, like I said before. Mm-hmm. And so it makes it really easy for us to find partners who are pretty much on the same page as us.
Yeah. And are there any fun collaborations that we should keep an eye out coming up?
So there are a number of collaborations that will come up in and around Kingpin in April and in October. I'm not really going to name who it is yet, but we have some exciting things coming up this year.
Okay. Amazing. And what kind of is your creative vision for the next couple of years?
So I feel that, it sounds cliched, but again, with, inclusivity, we're going to be focusing a lot on sustainability. I still feel that there's a lot more that we can do for the planet. And we're going to continue looking into that and see, how we can build more sustainable collections, more inclusive collections that are maybe more gender fluid.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about that and some sustainability metrics that you use to measure Denim Privé's success, and any specific ones that you're going to focus in on?
Right. So we started off measuring smaller metrics like water usage and electricity consumption 5 or 6 years back because we didn't really know where we stood. And so we started measuring each and every metric that we had. And I think since then we've grown a lot. Now I personally realize that we need a more holistic approach, which is why we focus entirely on two metrics. We focus on the carbon footprint that we generate, which is obviously made up of a lot of smaller metrics. But to figure out if we're going in the right direction or not, we measure our carbon footprint of each product. And that also includes a life cycle assessment that we are doing now. So we know exactly what impact each product has had over its life cycle. The other thing that we are focusing on as a more holistic approach is ESG. So I feel that these two metrics are the way forward for us. And if we see improvement in these every year, then we know we're in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. And do you use like outside, like third parties or consultants to help you get those metrics, or how do you go about them?
So we do have a sustainability consultant who helps us measure our data and figure out ways how we can improve on each metric every year. It was a lot easier in the beginning. We didn't really need a consultant. But as you improve on those metrics, it gets harder and harder to improve. And now we have some experts who can help us figure out ways that we can do that. ESG is fairly new to us. We started on that journey last year. We recently just hired a consultant for that who's going to help us develop our ESG strategy and a plan for the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So where do you see the future of denim going? I know some people have been uncomfortable predicting, but since you're so steeped in denim, what do you see the direction of denim?
So right now, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. At this point in time, there's non-denim is a lot more trendy at this point. I do feel that denim has become a trend that will not fade in the future. It's got to that point where it's not going to go away at all. And I just feel that in the future, we will see a lot smaller suppliers who are not sustainable phasing out, and maybe some players becoming even bigger. But it's a trend that's not going to go away. It's going to go up and down a little bit like it is now.
Yeah.
But it's here to stay.
Yeah. So tell us how you balance seeking out trends and seeking sustainability.
So essentially, we don't seek out any trends that are not sustainable. In the past, we used to try and treat these two things separately, and it's really difficult since when you start on the trend bandwagon, it's really difficult to keep things sustainable. So we have a core framework of processes and strategies that we use, and we build our trends based on that. So anything that doesn't match with our sustainability processes gets chucked out, or we find an alternate way to get that effect. It takes a longer time, but I feel that, all kinds of trends are possible in a more sustainable way as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so kind of on that note, can you tell us about a challenge or a difficulty that you faced on your journey towards sustainability with Denim Privé?
So I feel that the biggest challenge that we had was we had no idea where we stood. We thought we were a really sustainable company, but when we really got to measuring our data and figuring out where we stood, we figured out that there are a lot of things that we don't know exactly. A lot of things were based on estimates, on what we thought our water usage was, on what we thought our electricity consumption was. And then when we started getting into the details of all that, it took a really long time to actually figure out the impact of each unit that we produced. And I think that took more than a couple of years to actually figure out where we stood. And that was a really challenging time for us. And, when you're driven and you're passionate, you really want to get going, but there's really no point unless you know where you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of learning the patience of doing sustainability right.
Exactly.
I was asking about an innovation or change that you've implemented at Denim Privé that really impacted your operations.
Okay. So on each product that we now have a QR code, and in some places we have an RFID tag, which means we know exactly where each product is at this point in time. We also know, we have tablets on every device and on every machine. So we automatically know we have the data for each unit, how much electricity is being used, how much water is being used, what chemicals are being used. And so instead of having to record manually a lot of data, which is then, not so accountable either, we have automatic calculations for each product. And we now have a system where a consumer or a brand can actually sign in and see what the impact of their product is by either scanning the QR code, or if it's a brand, they can have a login and username and see what the impact of each product is and where it is right now.
Okay. That's amazing. Yeah, it's good to see how technology is helping us in our sustainability goals. Yeah. So everybody in the industry seems to be talking about the Pakistan Accords, which happened rather recently. Can you tell us what it is from your perspective and what it means for Denim Privé, since Denim Privé is based in Pakistan?
So we've been working a lot on worker safety and regulations and trainings over the last, 5 or 6 years or even longer. I think it doesn't impact us much since we've already been doing a lot of that. I do feel that some of the trainings are new and it's good for, the average person. I feel it's really important as a country and for some industries that are not already following these standards. And I feel that some incidents that have happened in the past in Pakistan and other South Asian countries have really opened up our eyes and really shed light on worker safety. And I think it develops a really standardized platform for everybody to compete on. I think it's a really good step for the future.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear when the regulation doesn't even affect you so much because you're already doing it.
Right.
So what's a helpful tip to brands out there that are looking to develop their sustainability practices?
I think the first thing a brand needs is a purpose and core values. When you know what you really want, that's the starting point. So not just have a creative vision on your board, but also have a sustainability vision from the start. And you can always keep a check on that as you go along. But if you don't, then you really get caught up in the trends and you kind of forget the sustainability part.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Never forget your core values. Amazing. So that kind of concludes our questions. Do you have any other things that you wanted to highlight about Denim Privé's business processes or anything?
No, I think we're good.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you for joining
No
us.
problem. All right. Thank you.